to AWS On Air. I'm A.M. Grabelny. We've got launches, we've got startups, we've got partners, we've got game day, we got everything coming at you for the next, I think we got, what, 3 days left? I don't know what time is. Well, I don't know where I am right now.
Well, no, I'll tell you where we are right now. We're at the Venetian, level 1. We're in Las Vegas. We're at reInvent 2022. And I'm Jeff Mershak. I'm a senior solutions architect on our DoD Air Force team. And thanks for having me, AM. I appreciate it.
Sure. I have no control over anything, but I'll take the credit. I invited you, Jeff.
We'll give it to him. So,
and we invited a special guest. Arvind, tell the people. You're also AM.
Yeah,
by the way.
I'm also AM. My initials are AM too. Hey, my name is Arvind. I head up products for Wickr, and we launched a new service yesterday, a brand new service. So just to give background, Wickr was acquired by AWS back in June 2021. And
yes.
It's been quite a journey, and I'm incredibly proud of the team because we were able to integrate really smoothly in the last 18 months and launch a service, which is pretty phenomenal.
Yes, I talked to you all back at the DC Summit, so
Correct.
that was months ago, right?
Yep.
And that basically, in my mind, doesn't exist anymore because it was so long ago.
Yep.
Basically, I go to sleep, I forget everything. But I still remember how excited I was to talk to you all back then. But you were missing something pretty vital, pretty key, and that was deploying through the AWS Management Console, right?
That is correct. Yep.
But we could do that now.
We could do that now.
All
so
right.
in fact, we launched a preview at Reinforce in July. And we had 150+ nominations, which was pretty phenomenal.
Wow.
And a lot of our customers showed interest in our product because of the secure capabilities that we bring in. And now we are excited that the product is available for everyone to sign up from the console.
I'm excited too.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about Wickr. I think it is very exciting to deploy through the AWS console, but if you don't know what you're deploying,
yeah, let's go back.
Let's talk.
Let's set the stage. What is Wickr?
End-to-end encryption chat. What is that?
Exactly.
And why is it
That's just part of it, right? I mean, if you look at customers, our customers expressed that they wanted a tool that they can use to collaborate very securely for very sensitive missions, right? There are a lot of tools out there for communications, but the level of security that each tool provides varies depending on what kind of conversations you want to have. So our customers explicitly said they end up using consumer-grade products because most of the consumer-grade products are end-to-end encrypted, but they lack the administrative controls that our customers would want in an enterprise world, and they also lack the ability to retain information. Like imagine you end up using a product where one of your employees leaves the company and they take the data with them, and that's not a good place to be in.
No.
So our customers mentioned that they want the ability to make sure that they control who is in their network, who gets access to data, and how the data is retained so that they can meet all the auditory and regulatory requirements they have.
I think that in the realm of the security world, a lot of these challenges are very well understood. I mean, exfiltration of data, that's a huge risk to your company. Outside the security realm, I don't know that people understand just how important encryption specifically, but also things like privacy are, right? I think, and I've heard this from people in my own life. When I talk about, I'm a major advocate for privacy. I have some background in security as well. Anytime I bring up privacy, it's like, well, I've got nothing to hide, right? And so I think, can you explain why privacy is important for some
I think before I do that, I want to explain some myths about encryption too. Because,
please, yes, and how it actually enables privacy.
Enables privacy, right? There is traditional encryption where, TLS is a classic example, where, there is encryption between the client and the server.
Right.
Right? But what we have is end-to-end encryption. And the real difference is that there is no data that's stored in a server. Like, if I send a message to you, it's encrypted on my endpoint, and it's delivered to you, and it's decrypted on your endpoint, which is your phone. So there is no store that that's in the cloud that stores the data.
Right.
So
you all are using keys on the physical device.
that is correct. Which makes sure that adversary in the middle attacks is an increasing phenomenon across the world. Vulnerabilities are being exposed. So we make sure we provide the advanced level of security that's required for you to have sensitive communications, so that there is no chance of adversary in the middle attacks. And the reason why I wanted to explain that is that's how we enable privacy, like more private conversations. Because the more endpoints you add, the less private it becomes. Because the probability of someone like snooping in is higher. So we make sure only the intended recipients access the data, and that way we make sure that the data and the conversations are very private between the recipients.
I think privacy, just to tie the loop around, it's not about hiding data.
Correct.
It's about keeping data safe.
Correct. It's also about the principle that only the people who you are trying to converse with should see the data.
Right.
So it's private. Like if we are in a one-on-one room in a conversation face-to-face,
Right.
it's just you and me,
Right.
right? That's the kind of behavior we want to replicate in the end-to-end encrypted world.
I love
So
it.
we talked about encryption and then privacy, but how does retention play into all this? Because sometimes we want to keep some, and sometimes we have requirements to keep some of the stuff, but at the same time, we want it encrypted and we want it private.
Correct. Great question, because it's actually a myth in the industry that, one of the questions customers often ask us is, hey, well, you say you're end-to-end encrypted, which means only the right endpoints will have access to the data.
Right.
How do you say we can have access to the data as an organization? So what we have done is we have actually built a very innovative way through what we call a data retention host. So we enable our customers to deploy a bot, essentially a bot, encrypted bot in their environment. And a bot is another user in the network. So what we do is we actually kind of, when I have a one-on-one conversation with you, it's not just you and me, I'm having the conversation with the company too. So there are 3 encrypted endpoints, and all of them are validated, secure, and customers can enable that and kind of archive data so that they can meet regulatory requirements. For example, in the finance world, SEC 17A4 is a key policy, and in the DoD world, FOIA requests is a key thing that people have to kind of adhere to. So we enable customers to meet those requirements.
Right. Since I work at AWS, when I'm thinking of encryption, my mind immediately goes to KMS, right? Great place to store and manage your PKI, your private and public key infrastructure, to sign and encrypt these things. And I believe I've heard that Wickr now has some integrations into KMS and S3 for maybe that retention.
Correct.
Could you talk more about that?
Of course. So the way we think about encryption is that KMS is great for encryption at rest.
Right.
So if you store data at rest, you have KMS. They have amazing capabilities, enables customers to do flexibly encrypt their data. What Wickr does is when you communicate with each other, we encrypt data in transit.
Right.
So what we have done is with the data retention capability that we have built, I can actually show you a demo of how that works.
Yeah, let's take a look.
I want to see it. I want to see this thing in action.
So like I said, right, so just to recap, when Anna sends a message to John, in a typical world, the message is encrypted on Anna's device, and it gets delivered to John, and it's decrypted on John's device. Now, when retention is enabled, we allow customers to deploy a data retention bot. Again, this is also an encrypted bot with Wickr's protocols. Yeah. And we allow customers to configure a server of their choice. And this could be, by default, we provide them options for S3, but customers can choose any data server that they want. We provide complete flexibility to the customers.
That data retention bot, what you mentioned earlier, is that third party in the conversation,
That's
the
correct.
organization.
That's
Okay,
correct.
gotcha.
And in our user experience, we make it extremely clear to the end users that the organization have retention enabled, and you are adhering to your organization's policies. We make sure end users are informed as well.
Yep.
And sorry, once I go in, and this is just how all of it works. Like, I mean, if you look at it, there are 2 environments. We allow customers to self-host all of Wickr's infrastructure as well in their own environment. So administrators they go to the console, they enable retention, they set up retention, and then they configure a data storage, and then Wickr server understands that the customer has enabled retention for their network, and that configuration is pushed to the clients. And at this point, all the conversations within that particular network are retained based on customer's choice. And the key thing being the data storage, like we said, I want to emphasize that customers have complete control over where they store their data. We provide S3 as an out-of-the-box option, but they could pick any data server they want. And the great thing about this flexibility is that some of our customers have expressed interest in having data residency in their region of choice.
Yes.
So some customers have departments in Europe, departments in US, and they want to partition their data in Europe and US. And because we give this flexibility, they can spin up an S3 bucket in London. They can spin up an S3 bucket in US East, and they can route data to the right places so that they completely adhere to all the regulations that they have to adhere to.
Yeah, we could take that to the next level and install it on, say, a Snowball.
We do, yeah. We have customers that actually have expressed interest, and our fantastic SA team have done some great prototypes on Snowball, and in fact, we are running some POCs right now with some customers too.
Ooh.
Not just Snowball, even Outposts. So we are actually thinking about doing something with Outposts too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I need full control over.
Exactly.
Right? It can't leave my site.
Exactly.
So I need something like Snowball. Or
Correct.
Outpost.
So I promised a demo, and here's the demo, right?
Oh, yes.
So if you look at it, so if you go to Wickr, and this is the AWS console, obviously. You go to Wickr, you manage
this is
your
new
network.
as in a couple, like as today or this week?
This
now
week.
In the console.
Yesterday, actually. So if I go to network settings, and then I'll see an option called data compliance, and then once I go in, this is the retention host that we spoke about.
Gotcha.
It's basically a Docker container, which you can install in your environment. And you can see I'm copy pasting the.
So it's a compliance bot. So that makes it. That's like a fourth party now.
It's a third party.
Okay.
It's the retention/compliance bot.
Okay, both.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So now I'm going to enable it, and on the right side I have the client logged in using my profile. And you can see once I enabled it, the client will understand that retention is enabled for this network, and you will immediately see it go active in the admin console, and there we go, bingo. On the clients, I get informed that my organization has turned on a setting.
And this is just to reiterate for people, this is the bot is necessary to have access to the. Are you using symmetric keys on the devices?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
so
correct.
The bot also gets access to the symmetric key
keys.
that is encrypting the messages.
That is correct.
Because you have to decrypt the message at some point if you're retaining the message, right?
Exactly.
So instead of having to manage that yourself, you all have built bots.
That's correct. And
That's great.
bot is another user, and as how organizations and administrators control their users, they can control the bots as well.
Now,
they can turn it off,
do
turn
people
it
use
on.
bots for other things too?
Yes, we have bots for other things too. I'll touch upon it, but if you look here, when I send a message, you can see that within the bot, you can see the keys getting rotated. You can see how encryption plays a role when the bot decrypts the message as well. Now, I have configured an S3 bucket as my data store. So I go to S3, and I'll be able to see both the messages. Yeah, there we go. Both the messages are as JSON, in a JSON format in an S3 bucket that you can export for any purposes you want. This includes e-discovery, litigation hold, meeting FOIA requests, and also SEC 17A4 and other kind of regulations as well.
Now, that data stored in the retained file there in S3, all encrypted. Still encrypted.
You have a choice because, like I said, we provide flexibility to customers.
Sure, yeah,
so
you may not need it encrypted.
Correct. So customers can choose an encrypted S3 bucket and encrypt that at rest too.
Okay.
They can bring PKI, they can use KMS to actually encrypt the data too.
Nice, nice. Now, just curiosity here, and I think we maybe even talked about this back in DC. Are you all, when you're sending messages, is it a symmetric key generated per conversation?
Per conversation.
Okay.
And also, at sometimes we do it per message too.
Okay.
It really depends on how long the conversation has been, right? If I'm chatting with you, let's say after a month, we still have right guardrails in place to ensure that the keys are exchanged in the right way, so that you are an active, validated user that I can talk to.
So is that the rotate key we see on the screen because it's a new conversation started?
It's a new message, exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we can see right there in the console, we have the message, and then that file is put on the S3, and you're removing that local temp file. So this looks really nice.
Now, Arvind, and I think it makes sense why we spent so much time on encryption and on data retention, because these are major focal points for people who are looking at a product like Wickr.
Correct.
But it also has the same capabilities of popular chat apps too, right? Like What kind of, in terms of actually using the product, do you have, I see rooms there, direct messages?
So I'll show you a demo of this too.
Oh,
so this is our
yes.
Desktop client experience, obviously. Our mobile clients are far more, it's fantastic, to be honest. And as you can see, we have rooms, direct messages, group chats. You can get into a room. You can add other people into the room from your directory. You can make others as a moderator. Like, the key thing here is the experience is extremely focused on talking to people.
Right.
It's people first kind of an experience.
I mean, it can't just be secure. It also has to be usable, right?
Correct, because the key thing is, for administrators and organizations, they want security.
Right.
End users want delightful experience.
Right.
So we have made sure that we kind of address both personas' needs. And only then we'll be successful. So as you can see here, we've built some cool security features where we have expiration timers that people can configure. We have burn-on-read timers.
That's something pretty simple that is an awesome idea.
That's amazing.
Expiration.
I know.
Yes.
And ephemeral messages are a key need, especially for for DoD customers.
Yes.
Because they want, in some scenarios, they want burn-on-read, where somebody actually reads a message and then they want to destroy the message right away. Yeah. Right. So we give that flexibility. And as you can see, people first. You can you can have the profile picture. You can show your status. You can configure when you're available for chat. And then you have tagging, which lets you tag everyone in the room and tag an individual person in the room, and it just works like a charm.
I mean, I think this is the classic conundrum with security, right? The classic battle between secure and convenient, right?
Correct.
These are two things that typically are very difficult and are often clashing.
Yep.
But it's amazing to hear that you all are focused on that. You recognize that the convenience side is almost, if not as important as the security
In fact,
side.
it's more important because we believe that security doesn't have to compromise user experience.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, we have a fundamental tenet in our team that whenever we think about security features, we think through it from a lens of user experience and design it
I
the
want that
right
on a
way.
T-shirt. That's such a security doesn't compromise user experience.
It shouldn't. Yep.
So I see here there's a plugin that Wickr has come out with. Doing a lot of work with the DoD, we play with ATAK all the time. We've demoed ATAK everywhere. Can you talk to us about the ATAK plugin?
Of course. So before I get started on the plugin, it's important to kind of highlight what ATAK is, right? So TAK is Team Awareness Kit, and ATAK is Android Team Awareness Kit. And we also have ITAK, which is, obviously iOS Team Awareness Kit.
All right.
ATAK is primarily used by a lot of different agencies for missions where people are on the ground. They want to interact with each other. It's all location-based because when you're on the ground, you need to know where people are.
Yes.
And you need to know who your team is, who your...
and you want to chat with them.
You want to chat with them. And
Privately,
today, correct, exactly. So today, ATAK, if you have used ATAK, you know that everything starts with a map, just like what we have here, right? It's actually the people, the pins on the map are actually real people who are a part of your team, and the team you collaborate with, right? And this pin wheel, as you can see with multiple options, is how people do actions with their teams. And we have Wickr front and center there. If you look at the icon right here, that's the Wickr icon. So with the ATAK plugin, what we have enabled is we have enabled Wickr to be right in front and center of the map. And you can pick a person, hit Wickr, and then obviously you can hit the chat icon. And right there, you can send a Wickr chat, completely encrypted to that person, where no one else will have access to that conversation.
That's cool.
And we can also call that person. As you can see, the people are moving, and as they move, you will see where they are. You can also place a call with them without having to pick up a cell phone and talk to them.
Yeah.
So this is a VoIP call, and imagine if you're on a mission, you have to just quickly call someone and say, hey, I need you here. You can do that.
He's been talking. Wow. These are all people, but imagine the different scenarios where that could be valuable. Or those airplanes, equipment, forward operating bases.
Wow.
It's wonderful. So that's really exciting.
Again, you're right. People is one of the manifestations. At the end of the day, the pins are different validated, encrypted endpoints. It could be devices. It could be airplanes. It could be people. It could be anything.
I could talk about this all day, but unfortunately we are out of time. How good does it feel to be able to tell people to go check this out In the AWS console.
in the console?
It feels fantastic, and actually, again, I want to double down and thank the entire team for working so hard. It was an incredible journey for us, a lot of learnings after acquisition, and we are extremely happy to add value to our AWS customers.
I'm extremely happy to see it too. Vitally important, secure messaging, privacy, incredibly important things, and you all are making it super easy. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.